Welcome to Written Communication, How to Improve the Communication in Your Office with Just a Few Tips and Tricks by Bridger Matson, Courtney Burton, Kyle Carmichael, Quentin Fotes, and Shane Riley. Why and what do we write? In a world of business, many different forms of communication are used for a variety of different situations. Written communication offers many benefits that other forms of communication lack, such as the ability to revise and edit a message. For example, when a manager composes a letter to send out to his or her employees, he has the opportunity to read over what he has written and make sure that all of the information is clear and properly worded. This review process allows the manager to ensure that nothing was left out of the letter and that the customer is receiving the correct information. Another advantage that comes with using written communication is the ability to communicate speedily over any distance and to any location. If a manager needs to contact an employee in a meeting or someone who's out of the office, all they have to do is send a quick email. The employee can read it and respond in a span of 5 minutes. This form of written communication can present itself in many ways, including emails, memos, letters, text messages, and more. Who does written communication affect? Although it may be easy to understand why written communication is so important for a business, it may not be so clear as to who is affected by it. When we consider who needs to be able to write in a business, people such as managers or owners are likely to come to mind. This is because only people in charge have to know how to write, right? Wrong. There are far more people within this business who need to possess the ability to communicate through writing. CEO of iFixit, Kyle Ways, said, "Just because most team members don't have professional writer in their job description doesn't mean writing is off limits to them. Everyone here is a writer." Why would everyone within a business need to be a writer? Well, let's keep it in mind that typically employees are communicating with customers and other employees far more often than their bosses are communicating with them. The need for conveying some sort of information through writing exists, whether we are writing up driving directions for a customer or composing an email to our other employees. Your writing reflects on the company you represent. The first step to better communication. Business emails are a central tool to business communication. The process of writing emails can be broken down into 5 steps: identifying an audience, defining a subject, creating an intro and body, a conclusion, and a signature. First, let's start with our audience. You have to know the purpose for writing your email. Second, you need to identify the people that need to hear your message. Third, you need to think about this audience and decide what tone to use while writing. An example of this is a team leader addressing his employees. He would want to address them with more of a casual, professional tone. These are people that he works with every day and maintains personal relationships with. However, he is still a team leader. So in this case, being casual as well as professional is appropriate. Next, let's talk about the subject. The subject should provide a short summary of the topic of the email. It should be simple yet draw the attention of the receiver, and it should be grammatically correct. Let's turn to our earlier example of the leader reaching out to his team for a planning meeting. Our subject would state, "Team meeting regarding project planning." This subject clearly states the email's purpose. It is simple and grammatically correct. Next, we have the intro and body. The intro and body of the email should introduce the main points, provide all of the information necessary, call the employees to action, and again, it should be grammatically correct. If we go back to our example email, we would see the team leader introduce the date and time and location of the meeting, as well as the project they will be planning. In the body, he would provide all the information he wants his team to have prior to the meeting, and also make any assignments or research requests that need to be done before the meeting. He provides the main points, gives all of the information, and calls the employees to action while maintaining a casual, professional tone and correct grammar. Next, we have the conclusion. In the conclusion, you need to reiterate the purpose of the email, remind your receivers of any time restraints or assignments, thank them for their time and their hard work, and again, maintain that correct grammar. In our example email, our team leader would restate the team meeting is coming up, remind the group that their assignments need to be completed by the date of the meeting, and then thank them for their time and hard work. This last part is especially important to help your team feel appreciated. It helps maintain positive relationships. Last, we have the signature. The signature is the last part of the email, and it helps the receiver know the sender's name, the sender's job title, the company that he works for, and the information of that company. In our example, our team leader would have a signature that reads, S. Tyrell Riley, Manufacturer Engineering Team Leader, Varian Medical Systems, Imaging Components, and then the address of that company. Since we now have all 5 steps, 1. Audience, 2. Subject, 3. Intro and body, 4. Conclusion, and 5. Signature, our email is complete. If you follow these steps and guidelines, you will be more professional in your emailing will be more efficient, and your communication will improve. Next, we have the business letter. In this format, what we want to talk about is the similarities between both the business letter and the business email. So the first similarity that they have between the two that you can see in the yellow circles, you have the audience in the email and what we call the greeting in the business letter. This is where you identify your audience or who you are speaking to. Some typical greetings in a letter can be, Dear Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so. You want to make sure you include the full name if you have it because it's more professional. But if you don't know the person that you're writing to, you can begin the letter with to whom it may concern. Either way, selecting and identifying your audience will set the tone of your letter. The second similarity between the two is found in the intro, body, and conclusion. Just like with the email, this is where you introduce yourself, the topic, give all the information, and call to action. This is where the bulk of the writing happens in both formats, so remember to check that grammar. The third similarity we see here is the signature or the sign-off. At the close of the emails, you can see the sign-off, which is typically a phrase like sincerely, thank you, or best regards. Following this phrase is the sender's name, company title, and company name. This is called the signature. However, there is one difference with the business letter and the email. In the business letter, it includes an actual pen signature, as well as the printed name, while the email only has the printed name. This gives a letter a little bit more of a personal feel. We end our message this way to remind the reader who has contacted them. So now that we have a look at the similarities between the two, let's point out the 3 major differences in these formats. The first difference you can see in the red section is the letterhead. The letterhead is used to add a personal, professional touch and to help the reader identify who they are speaking with. It is also used as an official indicator of the sender, especially in a government or educational groups. The letterhead should include the company's name, logo, and contact information. The second difference you can see is the sender's address. This is used as another form of identification as well as a reference point for where the reader can send a response if needed. This makes it easy for the reader to see exactly where the letter came from, no envelopes needed. The last difference here is a specific date reference to when the letter was written. This is really helpful to the reader because unlike an email, when letters arrive by mail, it's not always obvious when they were written, especially if they were sent a long distance. This helps give a timeline to the communication, which is really helpful for both the sender and the reader. Hopefully you can see both of these formats can really be effective. They are pretty similar, but looking at them side to side, you can really see the differences. I think emails are most helpful for frequent and urgent communication, while business letters offers more of a personal touch and are a great way to start a relationship. Both are great, and I hope that we have helped you map out the differences and that you can start writing your own professional business letters and emails. Before we end our video, I want to leave you with one last piece of advice. Especially for our younger workers who are just entering the business world, you need to know the difference between the writing that you did in school and the writing you will do in the office. They can be very similar in theory, but in reality they are like apples and oranges. 2 distinct fruits, both have different tastes, different colors, nutrients, but at the end of the day, they're still fruit. Academic and business writing both have key characteristics or form, but the juice is what makes them different. To help with the transition from academic to business, think of these 3 things: style, focus, and format. The style of academic writing is formal and used in third-person perspective, while the style of business writing needs to be professional and courteous but not overly formal. The focus of academic writing is on facts and issues rather than the writer's opinion. The language uses precise words and does not include slang words, jargon, or abbreviations. While the focus of business writing needs to be simple, it needs to be well developed, with examples and details as needed. There should not be too many extra words like adjectives or adverbs. It's not necessary. With both genres of writing, there are many formats. For certain situations, with academic writing, you have essays, research papers, theses, and book reports. For business, you have letters, memos, emails, and resumes. If you always think about these 3 steps, you should be able to keep the 2 genres separate and have strong writing in both. Alright, that's all the information we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and just remember what you learned here today, and your writing will be effective and professional. Thanks again, and here's our sources.